Hello Gearspace, Jason here. I am the developer behind Instruo, and this year Superbooth we are introducing the Dàil, which is a new small form factor 4HP quantizer. Quantizer plus precision adder plus MIDI to CV interface module. So I'll give a rundown of the basic feature set and functionality. I've got a patch set up which we're hearing super saw from the crew and oscillator through my 1047 filter. I'm going to be quantizing voltage from a manual source as well as I'll pull from an LFO at some point, and we'll send that to the volt per octave of the oscillator. So there are a couple of top level features of the quantizer itself. There is the main quantizer engine, which can be full chromatic scale patterns, as well as a precision adder that runs in parallel. So if I'm quantizing, I can run CV in, so quantizing in semitones. I've got 10 volts going in, so that's going to be 10 octaves, a bit much. When I'm quantizing voltage, I can offset directly in octave intervals. To program in scales, I put the toggle switch to the left position, and that way I can enable or disable particular notes. So let me clear everything. So any of the yellow enabled notes are for the quantizer engine, and any of the white enabled notes are for the precision adder. So they allow you to offset in perfect intervals to whatever amplitude you're set to. So I'll clear that, and I'm going to put in a scale. So I'll put in a minor triad scale. So C, E flat, G. Center the toggle switch, and that's it now engaged the quantized scale to being minor triad over quantizing my random voltage. Patch up an envelope, so I'm going to come from the trigger output. So this is giving me a new trigger signal every time it latches to a new note. So in the quantizer page, I can be offsetting in octaves. The precision adder page, I can actually set a completely independent parallel scale if I want. So I'm going to set this to being C and G. So it means I can modulate this and transpose this from my root C to down a fifth, up a fifth, up an octave. And this could be any pattern of semitones or scales or intervals that I can use to transpose the quantized sequence dynamically. So I think something that's quite new to the Dàil as a quantizer versus a lot of other quantizers is the engine's not limited to just one octave. So on my previous quantizer, the Harmony, it's whatever the pattern is, it's going to take that octave pattern and then duplicate it across the wider range. On the Dàil, I can actually put in any pattern spanning up to 10 octaves if I want. So let's try that. I'm going to go back to the programming page. I'm going to change this, so I'm going from being a minor triad closed position to being C, G, and then I'll put my E flat up the octave, so I'll now be a spread voice triad. So disable that E flat. To get up the octave, I hold the toggle and I double tap it at the top, and that's nudged everything up. So I'm now programming in the upper octave. So I'll now engage this. So I now have C, G, and E flat, the octave above. So now I'm probably going to need to increase the depth of my CV. Try is, let's go with a triangle arpeggio. There we go. So this is currently set to natural distribution of the way that the scale quantizes, where I'll have a distance in intervals from C to E and a different distance in intervals from E flat to G. So this is going to give me a slightly irregular pattern as we're moving through the arpeggio, because there's a different spacing between the notes, especially if I change to something like a sus2, where we can hear it's got an erratic change when it's a closer interval. If I press and hold the lower button, tap the top, this has gone into what's called equal distribution mode. So whatever the pattern is, it's going to equally distribute that number of notes across the number of octaves it's defined in. So I'm going to take over from programming manually, which I can do with the left page, and I'm going to use MIDI, which is plugged in via the 2HV expander, which shifts with the module. So this has got TRS MIDI input for external control from any sequencers or keyboards, as well as USB MIDI host. So this is actually both powering and receiving class compliant MIDI from any class compliant keyboard. So here, I can quickly reprogram any of my scales as I go. I'm going to keep this in equal distribution mode. I'm going to expand the range of this. So far I've played these chords in close position. So I've gone from C minor triad to G minor triad. This has taken the notes G, B flat and D within an octave, so it's an inversion of the G minor triad. If I were to play that in its closed position with G in the bass, then G, B flat, D, this D is actually the octave up. So this is where the spread voice or the spread octave quantization pattern comes into play, where I can change the pattern from being an equal distribution over one octave repeating to being. So immediately I've changed the rhythmic meter because it spread the pattern over 2 octaves versus 1 octave. So it's taking the actual literal notes of what you're playing in, looking at the range of octaves and then applying that to the quantized pattern. Yeah, a very quick way to interface with a sequencer or an arpeggio to control a synth. So yeah, Dàil's in stores now. We got the first stock of production batch out to distributors a week or two ago. So yeah, they'll be in stores and available from when you're seeing this video.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All good. Thank you very much.